is and should be a touchdown. Here we go. Bryson Mars has got his back behind him. It is Jaquindon Jackson. Here's the snap. Bryson Barnes looking deep. He's got a man. It's caught! He's gone! Touchdown early! Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. We are coming to you live about 30 minutes earlier than normal, which, you know, we got college football playoff. Trying out a little bit different system of where we have our 30-minute live pregame show now, and then do the and then have a 30-minute break, and then do the game of Penn State and SMU at 11 a.m. this morning. So, if you are watching us, if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. We are trying to get to 100 subscribers before the new year, which is about New Year's Eve is about 10 days away. So definitely interesting to see how this is going to work. If we can get to 100 subscribers, we're at 93 last I checked. So definitely have a chance to get there. So here we go. Of course, right now, TNT's getting their pregame coverage going, so we got it too. So let's go ahead and start today with the recap of Notre Dame and Indiana. So Notre Dame, they get the 27-17 win over Indiana in the 7-10 matchup. Here's what I'll say to this to begin with. The thing that really gets me about this is that the score really does not indicate how this game went, because Indiana scored 14 points in the last few minutes of the ball game. What was this game like? Well, for the most part, it was Notre Dame, and I believe it was their defense that took care of business. They truly forced Curtis Rourke to make a lot of mistakes that he shouldn't have. He had that one interception where he overthrew his receiver, landed right in the hands of that Notre Dame defender. And then, of course, I think the next play, Jeremiah Love takes it 98 yards for the score. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Notre Dame up 27-3 with like 4 minutes left in the ball game, and Indiana scores 14 unanswered. Had Indiana got the 2-point conversion, then got and if Indiana would have gotten the onside kick afterward, there's a chance Indiana would have came back and won this game. But overall, if you look at this game, it truly is one of those games where Notre Dame controlled the game the whole way. And so, Indiana, I never truly thought they had a shot. They proved why I didn't think they had a shot. So, yeah, Notre Dame, good job for them. They get the win, and they will advance. So, here is the bracket. I'm going to go full screen for you. This is the current bracket. I'm going to take that away for a second. All right. So, Notre Dame, as you can see on the top right-hand corner of your bracket, they had to play against Indiana, beat them, so now they will play in the Sugar Bowl against the Georgia Bulldogs, and this is the current bracket. So, of course, as you can see, coming up next is Penn State and SMU. We're going to have that here on the channel. Then the 3 o'clock game is Texas and Clemson, and then you have Ohio State and Tennessee in prime time tonight. You've got 3 games today that'll be interesting, although it's definitely interesting to see how this bracket is looking at the moment. We're going to preview these 3 games here in just a moment. But again, Notre Dame takes care of business, 27-17. And so, yeah, I don't think Indiana really ever had much of a chance in this ball game. So, let me go full screen with me again. So, all right, here we go. I'm gonna get some stats pulled up for you. So, all right, team stats. All right, so if you look at the stats, this is just one last thing I'm gonna pull up here for you. First downs, Notre Dame 20, Indiana 17, third down efficiency, Indiana 4 of 12, Notre Dame 7 of 13, fourth down efficiency, Indiana 1 of 1. Total yards, Notre Dame outgained Indiana 394 to 278. On in the air, Indiana did outgain Notre Dame 215 to 201. Excuse me. And then you look at on the ground, and this is where I think a lot of it went, is that you look at it, Notre Dame 193 rush yards to 63 of Indiana. And of course, big thing is Jeremiah Love had the long 98-yard touchdown. That helps a lot. Penalties, rather clean game. I mean, Indiana only 5 penalties for 46 yards, Notre Dame 6 for 35. Both teams threw an interception. Time of possession, though, I think was huge in this ball game. Notre Dame had the ball 35 minutes 40 seconds. Indiana 24 minutes 20 seconds. So again, just like against Ohio State, the issue with Notre Dame, with Indiana, is time of possession, and then just shooting themselves in the foot with mistakes such as the interception. You just can't do it. And well, I mean, you can't discredit this season. Indiana had a good year, but give credit to Notre Dame. They took care of business. They took a page out of Ohio State's book. Now they move on to face Georgia. All right, now let's real quick. I got two things I want to talk about real quick. Jake Dickert, Washington State head coach. He is going to become the Wake Forest head coach, taking over for Dave Clawson. I think this is a good hire. Jake Dickert in his time was 23-20, but this past year definitely was really good for them. I believe they were like 10-2, somewhere between 10-2 and 9-3. They were really good. In my opinion, I think they were really good. John Mateer was a great quarterback. He followed the offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, to Oklahoma. So definitely interesting there. Jake Dickert, I have a lot of hope that he'll do really good at Wake Forest. And then you got Ashton Daniels transferring to Auburn. He was at Stanford for a few years. Did a decent job. I believe that by him going to Auburn, he has a chance to really develop as a quarterback. He's got an ability. I think if he's like coached right, he can develop that passing arm while also being able to continue being a mobile quarterback. I like this guy. I think he will do great at Auburn. So, and I think Hugh Freeze is a great coach. So you got him, and you got Jackson Arnold. Auburn, I feel like, will be doing really good when it comes to quarterbacks next season. All right. Now, let's get into the portion of the show that you're waiting for, and that is previews. So, Clemson and Texas. Now, both of these teams play their conference championship game. Clemson, of course, beating SMU. Texas losing in overtime to Georgia. What's going to give in this game? Well, first off, and I think Dabo's right, Clemson's probably not played their best game this season. Two of their three losses this season for Clemson have come against SEC schools. When we mentioned Georgia, they lost to in the first week of the season. Then they also lost to a team. They lost to South Carolina at home, and they lost to Louisville at home. When it comes to road games, they were undefeated. Neutral site, won I think they only played 2 neutral site games, which was Georgia and SMU, 1-1. And then at home, they have 2 losses at home. I personally, I don't know. I don't know about what y'all think, but losing at home just looks bad, in my opinion, especially if you're undefeated on the road and you lose at home. It's not a good sign. Now, Texas, on the other hand, just like Clemson, they lost at home to Georgia, and then they lost on a neutral site to Georgia. So both of them lost in Atlanta to Georgia. Now, so both teams, they can relate. They both lost to Georgia. But here's my question in this ballgame, okay? If Texas shows that they can play with their full potential in this ballgame, if Quinn Ewers is having a great game, if that defense is having a good game, if the offensive line's protected for Quinn Ewers, I think Texas has the advantage in this ball game. If you're Clemson, on the other hand, this is definitely a tough matchup if you're Clemson, because when it all comes down to it, it's all going to come down to which quarterback can play better today. Cade Klubnik, I like him as a quarterback, but I feel like there are some inconsistencies in his play. I feel like there's moments where he's looking really good against whoever he's playing, and then there's moments where it feels like he can't complete the passes he needs to. He either overshoots his receiver, undershoots it. So, I mean, there's a lot of inconsistencies there for Clemson. So, like I said, I'm going to give the edge to Texas in this game. I'll pick the games in a minute, but as far as edge of who I think looks better going into this ball game, I'm going Texas with this. But yeah, the big story I think is going to be just watch that defensive line of Texas go up against Cade Klubnik and get them like the pressure that they're going to send on Klubnik. That's going to be big. How does he handle that this afternoon? How does he handle it? That's going to be big. So we'll have to wait and see. That game's at 3:00 on TNT and Max. So that's where you can find that game. All right, the game that's coming up at the top of the hour, which we're going to have here on Saber Broadcast Network, SMU and Penn State. Okay, first of all, you may ask me, why am I doing this game when this is probably the worst matchup in the first round? Well, last night, me and my family went to go see some Christmas lights. Tonight, we're going to go do the same thing. So this is the only one I have the chance that I could broadcast for you. So going to give you some college football just so that we can, just so I can say I did a first round game. So SMU Penn State, I'll say this, and that is that SMU, they come off a loss in the ACC championship game to Clemson, where they were down by like 17 points and found a way to come back, nearly taking the game into overtime. What is my thoughts? SMU, I haven't seen them beat anybody, and the two teams that were ranked that I think they had a chance to beat them, but both games they didn't look great. So here's my question. If you're Penn State, really, Penn State hasn't really beat anybody, but they're coming off a Big Ten championship loss where they kept it close with Oregon. So by far, I think at Penn State, I would give them an advantage here. And home field, whether you want to admit it or not, I think home field has a lot of pull in this game. But I think the difference is going to be I think it's the Penn State defense against Kevin Jennings, SMU's quarterback. I think that's a big storyline for a lot of these games. So, definitely I'm going to say Penn State has an edge here. It's definitely very, very interesting. But yeah, We'll have this game a little bit later here today. So, going to be a good one. And then you got Tennessee and Ohio State in prime time tonight. Let me say this about this game. This is definitely the best game of the day, of the weekend. This is the best game. Tennessee, Ohio State. Ohio State, as you know, they come off of just a demoralizing loss to Michigan. And then you got Tennessee, who comes off the win against Vanderbilt. Here's the question. Because although it's a home game for Ohio State, Tennessee fans they're showing up. This morning watching College Game Day, a little bit of it, there's a lot of Tennessee fans up there in Columbus. It seems like up there in Columbus right now, the main thing we're seeing is that there is a lot of Ohio State fans who are just down on their team because of losing to Michigan 4 straight years. I mean, I can't blame them when this year's game was a bad loss. I mean, just a bad loss. You're at home, you lose 13-10 to a team that was terrible. I mean, 6-5 Michigan. Not like good Michigan, 6-5 Michigan. So, if you're Ohio State today, I think the big thing is Will Howard's got to clean up his play. He's got to play clean football tonight. Big thing is also, I'm going to say, both teams, I think what's going to be the key to this game, because it's going to be cold, it's going to be in prime time, who's going to run the ball better? Whoever can run the football better, I think, wins this ball game. And personally speaking, I would give the edge to Tennessee when it comes to running the football. Just because Dylan Sampson, he is a great running back. He's one of the best in the country. So when it comes to the run game, I'm going to give Tennessee the edge here. Defense is going to be big in this ball game too. Which defense shows up? And again, the edge I would give to Tennessee on defensive wise. Quarterback, Nico Imaliava, I think, is a better quarterback than Will Howard. So as far as quarterback, I give Tennessee the edge here. So we'll have to wait and see how this game plays out. But definitely an interesting football game. So we're going to pick these games here in just a minute. But real quick, let's go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. It'll be time to pick some games. So. All right, welcome back, everybody. It is time to begin picking the games for this weekend. And so if you saw my bracket, I picked Notre Dame to win. So that's one game I got right. So, you know what? Before I get into that, also do keep in mind that I think it's Tuesday night. Tuesday night is Christmas Eve. And so, I'm getting my thing set up. All right. 2024 Savor Broadcast Network Christmas Special. is Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. Do not want to miss it. Just wanted to throw that out there for you. We're putting it together. It's looking great. So, of course, can't wait to do it. It's going to be great. We're going to premiere it Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. So that means college football wraparound will most likely be, we won't have an episode until maybe possibly either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, somewhere in there. I'm going to decide what day I want to do. Otherwise, we're going to take clips from the show and post it, or we may get some clips from the game broadcasts we do here in a little bit. So just be on the lookout for that here on the channel. Either way, so when we look at these games today, there's definitely a lot of interesting stuff you can talk about. But of course, you got Clemson and Texas. And so I'll just remind you of the picks I had. So in the bracket, I picked Texas to beat Clemson. I've got Penn State beating SMU. And then as far as Tennessee and Ohio State, I got Tennessee being the only road team in this first round to get a win. So that would set up, and I'm going to go ahead, I'll show you this bracket one more time. So that would set up Tennessee, Oregon in the Rose Bowl. That would set up Arizona State and Texas in the Peach Bowl. Notre Dame and Georgia is already set. That's the Sugar Bowl. And that would set up Penn State and Boise State on New Year's Eve for the Fiesta Bowl. And folks, we plan to be doing Boise State, Penn State on New Year's Eve with the Fiesta Bowl. And then as far as New Year's Day, potentially do that Rose Bowl game with Oregon. Of course, we're going to wait and see how everything works out for us on that end of things. But for now, that is pretty much all I've got for today. And so, of course, as you see the bracket, it's a great. We are. It's an interesting playoff, that's for sure. Notre Dame last night, as I said at the beginning of the show, they destroyed Indiana. Indiana scored some garbage time touchdowns. So, really, in my opinion, the only game that I think will potentially be close in this first round is Ohio State and Tennessee tonight. Other than that, I don't see any of these being close in the first round. So yeah. We will see you here at 11 a.m. for Penn State, SMU, live here on Saber Broadcast Network. So, folks, we'll see you here in just a little bit. Goodbye, everybody.